whether she actually Donald Trump or not is sort of irrelevant. Doing this because you're out to get a payday. And let's say that's the case. Who fucking cares? Her motivation to do whatever she did doesn't matter. What matters is he made a payment, he recorded it as legal fees, they weren't legal fees, and did it for one of two purposes or both purposes, and one of them would be taxes and the other one is election, to secure his spot in the election.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own personal board-certified criminal defense lawyer. And today we are talking about the direct and cross-examination of Stormy Daniels. I'm going to give you a little rundown of what that's supposed to look like. But before we get to that, guess who this is brought to you by? eForms.com. eForms.com is a very effective way to avoid the high price cost of having somebody do a form for you like me, because I would just probably go to eForms anyway, and it's ridiculous. So, and it keeps you out of the courtroom, whether you need a bill of sale, whether you need a power of attorney, any legal document that you need, a business agreement, anything you need that's a legal form, quick claim deed, any kind of form that you need, you can get it on eForms.com, and it's cheap. And guess what? You do that ahead of time, you'll stay out of the courtroom, period. Just ask my grandma. She's out of the courtroom and in my basement. I can't get her out of my basement. Did you know that? Anyway, so let's talk about Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels has baggage as a witness. She testified today and is testifying today. And there's things that you need to do on direct examination. And there's things that you need to do on cross-examination. Let's just talk real quickly about what each is, what direct and cross means. Direct examination is when you have a witness, you have to ask open-ended questions. What color was the sky? What did you do next? And what was the mood like? What happened next? Those open-ended questions, and the person tells the story. It's a little bit of a problem in this case because the judge has ruled that certain things can't come into evidence. In other words, the salacious details between what happened, between Donald Trump's wee-wee and her hoo-hoo, whatever happened between those two, the real details of what happened are not really relevant, and they can be prejudicial. So, in other words, just tell us generally what happened. Don't get into details. And cross-examination is where you ask questions of the opponent's witness. Then you can lead. That's what you ask, leading questions. And isn't it true that? Isn't it true that you are a scun-sucking and are just here to extract $130,000, whatever. If you ask that question, that would be bad. But you get what I'm saying. On direct examination, the prosecutor has a job to do. And the job is to really get out the whole reason why Trump would want this quashed to begin with. And that's why the story itself is important. And it's important to tell not necessarily the whole story, but a good chunk of it. And what happened today was that she's testifying and probably elaborating, and the defense is objecting to certain questions that might be outside the bounds of what the order that the judge, because the judge set some boundaries up ahead of time. And when they're asking questions and all of a sudden they're outside those bounds, the defense has asked for a mistrial in this case. In other words, you can't unring the bell. So you get all these salacious details, and, Blanche has said, Judge, how can we come back for this? There's no way we can. This is not fair to Donald Trump. We're asking for a mistrial, blah, blah, blah. You watch. I bet you they will try to do an interlocutory appeal. That means an appeal, from the judge's ruling that he didn't get a mistrial to the Court of Appeals. But you don't get that right as a defense lawyer. But it is something that they will make a record for on appeal. Now, Stormy Daniels testified about all kinds of stuff. She testified about an encounter that she had at a golf club with Donald Trump in 2006. That's 10 years. 10 years before he ran for president. Now, she's an adult film actress. According to AP and Washington Post, she's been doing, directing 10 films a year. There's not a shit ton of money in that. I mean, porn stars don't get paid what you think they get paid, unless they're like, one of the big names, I guess. And so she went to this golf course, and the company that she was working for sponsored one of the holes in this golf tournament. And so she's there, and she testified that she was asked to dinner by Donald Trump. She had dinner in his suite, and she was wearing pajamas. Jeez, why would you be wearing pajamas? Here's the problem that I have with this, honestly. 10 years ago, and you're shopping this fucking story around now, honestly, not now, but in 2016, 10 years later, I just think that's shitty, even, whether it's true or not. I don't think it's cool that Trump is cheating on his wife, but that's kind of his MO anyway. He's never been a guy that's been built on fidelity, and Melania knows that. So there's just no question that he doesn't give a shit about being loyal to his wife, and Melania is under no misgivings that she's dating a choir boy or married to a choir boy. So that, I think, that theme right there undercuts the theory that he's trying to put forward, that he wanted to keep this from his wife and not for the election. Okay, so what did she testify to? She testified that they had this sexual encounter, that he was arrogant, that he asked her if she was on the cover of this magazine, he asked her if she saw him on the cover of this magazine. She said no, rolled it up, and spanked him on the ass. Talks about a very unfulfilling sexual encounter. Said she really didn't want to have it, but she was not claiming it wasn't consensual. His bodyguard was right outside the door. She could have said something if she wanted to. She said she just wanted to get out of there. I don't know how much to believe or not believe. But on direct examination, she's telling her story. And she's going a little bit overboard in terms of the details. And so that's when Blanche, Trump's lawyer, has asked for a mistrial. And the judge said, calm down on the details, Miss Daniels, but it's not enough for a mistrial at this point, okay? So, and her story is kind of an important piece of this. It's the whole reason that they paid her, right? But if Michael Cohen, and here's the thing that I just don't understand about Trump's defense. Trump's defense is that, the payments to Michael Cohen were legal fees. Well, what's the problem with that? What's the payment to Stormy Daniels about? Why would Michael Cohen be? There's only one reason. And then he gets reimbursed. And not only does he get reimbursed for the $130,000, he gets reimbursed for the tax implications for that $130,000. So it's not like you just get a normal bill for $35,000 or whatever and say, here's my bill for services. Thank you very much. I'll take the check. And then, like the normal course of things. That didn't happen here. There's no bill. There's no retainer agreement. There's no anything. And I don't know if Michael Cohen was on a specific retainer agreement, or if he was in-house counsel, or what his arrangement was. But there's no bill for service. And so the defense that these were legal fees really stretches any kind of credulity. And why is that important? That's important because that's half the case right there. The false business records. Recording these as legal fees and then them not really being legal fees. Plus, there's a note from Alan Weisselberg saying that this was reimbursement. What does that tell you? This is not rocket science. This is 1 and 1 is 2, and it's a very simple story, really, when it comes right down to it. So what do you do on cross-examination? They're going to have a female, because they got several females on the team. They're going to have a female cross-examiner. You know that they're going to do that. And that's for stylistic reasons. You don't want to make her more sympathetic by having a man bully a woman. Just structurally, that's how it's going to go. So where do you attack her? You attack her on her credibility, on her motivations. You've said on this information for 10 years. You never came forward to any police, right? And you never came forward to anybody, and you know, you indicated on direct examination that you were having some of the best years of your life, and that you didn't need any money. You also indicated on direct examination that you didn't really want the money, that you just wanted to get this story out, right? But somehow you claim that you were paid $130,000 to keep quiet. But you didn't keep quiet, did you? And blah, blah, blah. You kind of get the tenor of what a cross-examination of Stormy Daniels looked like. So let's kind of go through the day a little bit and go through some of the highlights. So let's just kind of go through some of the highlights as listed by AP. So Stormy Daniels denied she found testifying against Donald Trump funny. So one of the questions was, you just laughed about that. Is it because you think this is all funny, is it? You know, I don't like questions like that because you give the witness kind of some power. Having gone through the negotiating of a non-disclosure agreement with Donald Trump's lawyer Michael Cohen in 2016 and dealt with dueling lawsuits filed by her and Trump against each other, Stormy Daniels agreed to go on his podcast. She did so because I wanted him to apologize to me, Daniels said of Cohen. She testified about the encounter. She testified about the non-disclosure agreement. She testified also about going on Michael Cohen's podcast. You know, I don't know why the fuck Michael Cohen is having this podcast while this is all going on. You know, that's number one, that's fodder for cross-examination. Number two, it's just this bad form, in my opinion. You know, and then it's all these extraneous statements that these witnesses are making. One of the things that the judge was bringing Trump up on today or yesterday was another allegation that he violated the gag order. Now, remember we talked a little bit about yesterday that the judge was very close to putting Trump in jail. He said he didn't want to do it, but the $1,000 is not having a dent in your behavior. And so today there was an allegation that he violated the gag order by talking about Michael Cohen. I believe it was Michael Cohen. But his comments were confined to things that Michael Cohen was saying on his podcast. You know, having a witness testifying, or not testifying, but making public statements daily is problematic for Alvin Bragg. It just is. And while the judge did think that it was close to the line, he said it wasn't beyond a reasonable doubt that he violated the gag order. So the judge did not sanction him. However, if he's sitting there posting during trial about witnesses, about the jury, about anything in the courtroom, the court staff, anything, what's going to happen? He's going to go to jail. And what is the right response here? The right response is not one that the judge wants to do. The judge was extremely measured about whether or not to put Donald Trump in jail. He said, look, you're a past president. I don't want to do this. And so what does he do? Put him in jail over the lunch hour to start with? Or keep him in jail after court's over until all the press is gone? Or does he put him in jail until the court is, the case is over with? It's a tough call for this judge. You know, the Secret Service has been in touch with the jail and with court services to figure out, okay, if he does go to jail, what's going to happen and how is it going to happen? You know, because he doesn't give up his Secret Service protection. He probably would be off-site somewhere in his own place. And then the Secret Service has to be in charge of his food and all that kind of stuff. So, but like I said in our last episode, we're getting close to the end of this trial. We are. We're in I think it's week 4 or week 3. But the last witness is probably going to be Michael Cohen. And he may even be the next witness. But we're getting very close to the end because we've had kind of the foundation of the catch and kill. We've had some of the foundational, this is his signature, this is how he does things. We send things to the White House for his signature. And so all those repayments, that's all been buttoned up. And now we get to the meat of the story. Why is this salacious? Why are we doing this? You know, and so the timing of it and the election is all goes to the second part of this. You know, first we have the falsifying records. That's a misdemeanor under New York state law. But if you do it to cover up a federal or state crime, And the state crime here is taxes because they misidentify them as legal expenses, which they weren't, so they deducted those. And then you also have the election interference. The failure to report this as an in-kind contribution to the campaign, so it wasn't disclosed. So there's two ways to win this case: one by taxes and one by the election fraud case. So I'm anxious to see what the rest of the cross-examination of Stormy Daniels looks like, because the fundamentals are unassailable. Whether she actually fucked Donald Trump or not is sort of irrelevant. She had a story, and they wanted to kill the story, and they paid her off to do it. There's no question that happened, right? I mean, that did happen. Even if she's this money-grubbing who just decided, I'm going to go after Trump because this is my payday. I'm not saying that she is, but I'm saying like that could be somebody's attitude. That would be the defense's attitude, right? You're just doing this because you're out to get a payday. And let's say that's the case. Who fucking cares? Her motivation to do whatever she did doesn't matter. What matters is he made a payment. He recorded it as legal fees. They weren't legal fees, and did it for one of two purposes or both purposes, and one of them would be taxes, and the other one is election. To secure his spot in the election. And that's why Hope Hicks testified. She was his press secretary for the campaign. The defense that he wanted to keep this from Melania, that could be true. Both things could be true at the same time. You could have dual purposes. You not want this out because remember it was the Billy Bush thing that they were just trying to recover from that, and so you've got that in non-disclosure at the time to his wife, but it's 10 years later, so who fucking cares? Honestly, this is a nightmare for lawyers. Honestly, because Trump is such a loose cannon, and remember we had the whole shenanigans about the lawyer saying, oh, he's not doing this, he's not doing that, and the judge saying, you've lost all credibility with me. You don't want a judge to say that. I was in court this morning, and I watched this prosecutor get his ass handed to him by a judge. And so you don't want a judge to get on and then they had to dismiss the case. But the prosecution, which has no case, has gone too far. Mistrial. I mean, why the hell is he doing this? This would piss me off so fucking bad as his lawyer. You're fucking up my shit. I'm having to answer to every one of these stupid comments that you make on social media. The witch hunt is false. Ancient history. That was fully adjudicated by the voters in the 2016 presidential election. Do you know how dumb that is to make that statement? Honestly? That it was adjudicated? In other words, they didn't believe Stormy Daniels back then. I mean, he's tying these together by his statements on Truth Social. It only has to do with election interference and trying to help crooked Joe Biden get elected because he can't do it by himself. It is a vicious attack by the Soros-backed DA, Alvin Bragg, in strict coordination with the DOJ and the White House on Biden's political opponent, me. It's illegal, unconstitutional, and strictly third world country. Give me a fucking break. I mean, let's unpack. Let's just look at his... And I really don't want to give it more attention than it deserves. But the DOJ has got nothing to do with this case. This is a Manhattan. It's Manhattan County, or it's a district attorney of Manhattan District Court. I mean, Superior Court. This has nothing to do with the DOJ. And, Biden has nothing to do with this case. Now, is it political? All prosecutions are political. I mean, the DA is a political animal. The DA is elected. And when they set priorities and what types of cases they're going to go after, like, for example, the U.S. attorney here was appointed, several years ago. And they all of a sudden started going after these gang cases. And, all of a sudden they plucked 45 guys off the street and did a RICO on all 45. I've got that case right now. But the decision to do that and to go after those types of cases is political. The decision to go after Trump and go after him in this way, sure, it's political. But that's what you get to do when you are in power. You can't go after somebody sheerly because of politics. There's got to be more behind it. You know, they had how many motions to dismiss? You know, they've had a full and fair opportunity to get this dismissed long ago. I don't think it's going to be a very big stretch for the jury to come back and render a guilty verdict in this case. I just don't, because it's all the stuff that's really kind of unassailable. It's documents, you know, and they have tax returns. They have, you know, testimony that's backed up by documents. And so if all you had was Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen and that was it, there'd be no prosecution here. But that's not all you have. In fact, we had 2 accountants for Trump, and both of them still work for Trump. And they had to give truthful answers, and they did. You had Hope Hicks crying during her testimony. You know, she still loves Donald Trump. You know, and guess what happened? You know, she testified and had to testify truthfully. Because guess what happens if you don't testify truthfully? You wind up in Rikers Island with Alan Weisselberg. That's what happens. So, and does it give me great pleasure to see Donald Trump go down the tubes? No, not really. It really doesn't. I mean, he was a former president. I mean, it sucks that we're in this position. But guess what? Trump is in the position because of his mouth and because of what he's been doing. So that's our little reaction to today's testimony with Stormy Daniels. And there's no new news here, honestly. She's told this story 1,000 times. And I don't think she's changed her story at all. And I don't think that Trump's lawyers are really going to lay a glove on her because it's just all about motivation for the cross. I mean, I don't know how else you go after her. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your personal board-certified criminal defense lawyer, with our content genius, Michael Rivers, behind the camera, behind the plan. And again, I want to thank George and Lauren for an incredible experience in Portugal. That was amazing. And hope to see you guys. If you guys are ever in Minneapolis or Chicago, let us know because we'd love to host you for dinner one night. So we'll see you next time here at Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Sign up for Patreon. And your hats are on their way. We'll see you next time. Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?
If he does get charged, there will be probably a presumption that he's detained. Now it's not did he do it? Now it's not did he do it, it's did he done. They don't come like that unless they got a case. They're not going to come after Diddy if they don't have a case. That's actually a very accurate statement.
Take this toy helicopter. Put it down his pants.
All right, we'll do.
Put it down his fucking pants. That's years ago.
Look, later you gonna find out a little shit that I be saying be real.
He says later you're gonna find out all this shit I said was true, and you know that is what it is.
Cause P Diddy be wanting to party, and you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no.
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot.
I mean, look at him there. He looks like, yeah, well, there's a reason why I don't want to get naked in front of you. He didn't say that, but that's kind of the vibe you're getting.
Where we hanging out and what we doing.
I'm always suspect of an older man hanging out with a younger boy. That's not his own kin. All these people are probably going to be witnesses against Diddy in a criminal setting. None of this stuff is off the table. Whether it's a prior bad act or whether it's an actual charge, it's all relevant. This is a minor and sex trafficking. You see a pattern here?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. We are back. We are back after a 2-week hiatus. Kind of took a little time off. Had a trial. Had some family shit we had to deal with. So we are back in action today, and we're talking about the P. Diddler.
It's gonna be a glorious night. Let's go.
Mr. Sean Puffy Combs. Puffy. Big Puffy. Puffy Dad. Puff Daddy. Big Daddy Puff Diddler. Have you ever met anybody that's got more names than the Diddler? Before we get to that, we got a couple housekeeping items. So we take off 2 weeks, and all of a sudden I come back to the office, and I've got a shit ton of stuff, and I want to go through that and acknowledge the people who have sent things, and then acknowledge our sponsor, and then get into the full kind of deep dive on the Diddy. Before we get to that, this is brought to you by eForms.com. eForms.com is a very effective way to avoid the high cost of somebody like me. Some guy in a suit who's just going to try to charge you all kinds of money and not do a whole lot for it. Because guess what? You go to a lawyer, they have these forms already online, and then they fill them out. It probably takes 2 minutes. You get charged 4 hours. You're not going to do that. You know why? Because if your grandma's living in your basement, you need to take control of her because she's got her friends in her basement doing the foot thing, doing the meth thing, whatever your grandma's doing down there. You can't really trust her because she's kind of getting up there and losing her mind. And so you have to do a power of attorney to make sure she doesn't blow all the money she's making from her feet, on the only feet fans kind of thing. And I use it all the time personally in my practice. If some clients have rental agreements. There's a power of attorney, you have a business agreement, or if you sell your car, you need a bill of sale. Why? Because if some jerk who buys your car goes and gets in a wreck and you don't have proof that you sold it, you might be on the hook. So eForms.com is a very effective way to protect yourself when you get into court or to avoid court altogether. So go to eForms.com, use what they got, and I'm telling you, it's going to pay off in the end. No matter what your business need is or personal need, go to eForms.com. Okay. So before we get to that, Amy Miller, what the hell is this, Amy? I mean, look at this. Amy, and he's got a little, looks like a revolver on there. So I come back and she sent us a pair of these. This is actually pretty cute. We'll probably put this on a shelf or maybe even in my garden. And the, oh, yeah, there you go. See, the light lights up. So that's from Amy Miller. Amy, you didn't have to, and we really appreciate it. So then, guess what? We get an invitation. I love getting these things, but Lauren and Jorge are getting married in Portugal. So we may go. We may go. So if I'm going to go on, there's a little website that you go on to reserve, and I've saved the date. So Lauren and Jorge, you might see us there. I think that would be hilarious. Okay. All right. So Jorge and Lauren, you may see us there. But we won't just show up. So then we get some of this other stuff. This is so hilarious. I come back, my desk is full of stuff that you guys have sent. You guys are just the most amazing people. This is from Boyd Dickens, your personal industrial board certified lifetime Mensa member from Dubuque, Iowa. He sends me, Michael and or Bruce, please accept this 32 cents to bind the contract for some of that sweet attorney-client privilege. And so what he sends me, 32 cents, in Indian head dimes, Indian head nickels, and these are all cufflinks. So Boyd, amazing, thank you. And that attorney-client privilege is now sealed with 32 cents. Okay, I mean, look at this. I mean, I just can't believe all this stuff. Oh, Jeffrey B. Banana. Fuck me. So this is somebody who had too much time during COVID. That's all I gotta say. So he sends me this thing. And it says, hi, Bruce. I quite enjoy the videos on YouTube. I find them quite entertaining, and I like your delivery style. As an expression of my appreciation, I wanted to send you this little lawyer banana I made. I'm an IT guy by trade, but during the pandemic, like I said, a little too much time during the pandemic, I started making little figures out of clay. After a few months, I started making plastic resin copies of my statues and selling them on Etsy. So, Derek, the Angry Banana Company. And I realize some of you might be trying to just hawk your wares on here, but I thought this was hilarious. It's a lawyer in the shape of a banana. Oh my God, you guys are, it's just too funny. One more. So this one, I swear to God, you guys are nice as heck. Mr. Rivers, thank you for doing what you do. Thank you. And I will never get in trouble for selling my feet photos to strangers like your grandma. And I have e-sign in case I do. Just a silly something I made for you. All the best. And this is Ann. Ann sends me this. You see that? Stop self-snitching. I mean, this will go up on my wall for sure. Absolutely for sure. So, Ann, you're about as sweet as they come. I mean, look at all this stuff. You guys are just too much. You can't, I mean, I really appreciate it because you know why? It shows an engagement with the channel. And there's nothing better than an engagement with the channel. So, you know, it is just important, just as important for us to know we're doing a good job as it is to just us kind of believe it on our own. And it's just amazing, amazing, amazing accolades. And there's no better form of approval. Thank you, everybody, for all these great things. I couldn't do it without Michael. So, and everybody mentions Michael too, because Michael is the content genius, and he's the man with the plan. He's the guy behind the camera. And just keep in mind, you know, if you send me something, first of all, if you send me cufflinks, I will wear them. If you send me anything, you know, we're building a studio, and this stuff will go in our studio. But I don't throw anything away, unless you send me like something like really weird, but nobody's done that yet, so please don't. And so we really appreciate it. All right, let's get into it. Now, P. Diddy, you're a billionaire, and you got a lot of shit going on. A lot of stuff going on. You know, his homes were raided in L.A. and Miami. There was talk that he was in Antigua, or he was over here, or Diddy's over there. And he's got 4 lawsuits that are pending, 1 that's settled. And you know what? She's probably going to be glad that she's settled. But let's just talk about what's on this guy's plate, and then we'll finish with what the criminal side of thing is going on, and show you kind of what's going on there. But just to give you a little history, well, actually, we'll go into the videos after I kind of dissect this stuff, so we can kind of look at hindsight what some of this stuff looks like. So. He's faced 5 separate civil lawsuits accusing him of a range of sexual misconduct and other illegal activity. So let's just start with Cassandra Ventura. She alleged she was raped and subject to years of violence. And one of the things that sparked a lot of these lawsuits is the New York Survivors Act. And what it did, you know, if you had a case that was normally the statute of limitations expired, statute of limitations is a limit. You know, like in civil cases, it's usually 6 years. And so if your statute of limitations had expired, well, then the New York Survivors Act allows you to sue for that, gives you a 1-year opportunity to go ahead and sue for that. And that window is closed, but Cassandra Ventura alleged she was raped, subject to years of sexual abuse. She specifically accused him of sex trafficking, human trafficking, sexual assault, and battery. Now, statute of limitations on sexual trafficking and conspiracy and that kind of stuff is a completely different kettle of fish, and we'll talk about that. They settled out of court, and they settled the day after she filed it in court. And why would he do that? Well, here's the thing. If you have really good lawyers on your side, you're a big celebrity like this, my inclination on this stuff is to fight. And the reason being is that if you don't, the floodgates open, and anybody that comes after you has got to know they're dealing with some serious shit that they have to go through in order to get where they need to go. When you're litigating a case, that means fighting it in court. You know, if you have high-priced lawyers, they can bury you in litigation. And so for somebody who's more of a small-time or, you know, plaintiff's lawyer, that might seem daunting. You know, I did a case not that long ago where we litigated for 6 years. And the other side, you know, they had 6 lawyers on the other side. And They tried to bury us. And guess what? We stood up to every challenge and we got our client $35 million. Well, in this case, Cassandra settled out of court the day after she filed. My guess is there was a lot of wrangling going on beforehand. She demanded $30 million and they thought, oh, she's full of shit. She's not going to do this, that, and the other thing. And guess what? She filed it. And what happens when you file? It starts the discovery process. What happens when you have discovery? You have to sit down for a deposition. What happens when you sit down for a deposition? You have to tell the truth. And you're confronted with all kinds of text messages, videos, all kinds of other things that are going to come out. And so I think he thought, and at the time, Cassandra was the only plaintiff. And so I think, oh, I'll put a lid on this. Fine, give her $10 million. I'll see. And I don't know how much they settled for. She demanded 30, and they settled the day after. So my guess is they paid a premium to settle that the day after. But that's not all. Joy Dickerson Neal accused Diddy of drugging her and sexually assaulting her in 1991. This is part of that Adult Survivors Act. When she was a Syracuse University student who appeared with Combs in music videos, she also said she was a victim of revenge porn, saying he filmed the assault and showed it to others. See a pattern here? So you know what revenge porn is. And revenge porn is a newer thing in terms of criminality. Revenge porn is when you film somebody and then you use it over them and, you know, to either to hurt them or in some way. So ladies, let me tell you something. If you are generous enough to film yourself and send it to your beau, make sure you're with somebody that's not going to abuse that privilege. Because if all of a sudden they send it to all your friends, that's pretty fucking embarrassing. And it's pretty illegal too. You can't do that. She also alleged he filmed her, the assault, and showed it to others. I mean, how demeaning is that? This was a very last-minute lawsuit filed under the New York Adult Survivors Act. That suit is still pending, and his responses are due April 12th. But that's not all. We have Lisa Gardner. Gardner accused Combs and Aaron Hall, a member of the R&B group Guy, of a battery and sexual assault in 1990. This is when she was 16 years old. She alleged that after they gave her booze, Diddy forced her into having sex, and Hall pinned her to the ground and forced her to have sex. The next day, Diddy assaulted her and choked her until she passed out. So that's pretty bad. And not only is that pretty bad, well, now keep in mind that on all these, Diddy has claimed innocence. And he's saying this is all just a money grab. This is the last-minute ditch effort to go after him for money because the time is almost run out. So that's Lisa Gardner. But that's not all. We have Jane Doe, an anonymous woman using the name Jane Doe, and you can do that, and it's to do that to protect the victim in a case. An anonymous woman using the name Jane Doe filed a lawsuit in the Southern District of New York in December against Diddy. Basically, the allegation is that he accused Diddy and a guy by the name of Harve Pierre and a third person of sex trafficking and gang rape in 2003 when she was a 17-year-old high school student. And that's pending. All these are pending except for Miss Ventura's case. Now, this is a minor and sex trafficking. You see a pattern here? It seems like there is a pattern that's developing. Diddy's response is not due yet in that case. Now, and then we go to Rodney Jones. Rodney Jones is a producer that worked for Diddy. He filed a lawsuit in the Southern District of New York in February against Diddy and a number of other defendants. And all these people, they sued not only Diddy, they sued the record company, and they sued anybody that was in the chain along there because that's where the deep pockets are. And Diddy's a deep pocket himself. So the allegations for Mr. Jones is that he specifically accuses Diddy of racketeering, sexual assault, sex trafficking in 2022, 2023 as Jones worked on Diddy's most recent album, Love. He also alleges that Combs didn't compensate him for his music producing work. And in that lawsuit, they also talk about Jennifer Lopez holding a gun for Diddy. They talk about Cuba Gooding Jr., who supposedly groped Mr. Jones, and that is still pending. Some of the defendants in that case have moved to dismiss. But let me tell you something about that complaint. I've read that complaint, and the things that they have alleged in that complaint look like it's right out of a prosecutor's playbook. They allege, and they include photos and screenshots from some of the videos that he claims to have. Here's why that's important. All these people are probably going to be witnesses against Diddy in a criminal setting. Okay? None of this stuff is off the fucking table. Whether it's a prior bad act or whether it's an actual charge, it's all relevant to the ongoing concern. Now remember, I told you at the beginning of this, he had 2 homes that were raided. Guess what else happened? Brandon Paul, supposedly his mule, and Mr. Jones talks in his complaint about Brandon Paul. He says in there, he says that Jones said Paul works as Combs' mule. You know what a mule is? You know what a mule is, right? A mule is a pack animal, something that you put on and they transport. Well, a drug mule, is somebody that goes, gets your drugs, and brings it to where you want it to be brought. He acquires, distributes Mr. Combs' drugs and guns, and so he was at an airport with Mr. Combs in Miami. He was at the Opa-locka Executive Miami Airport. Now, he's alleged to be the mule for the diddler, that's what I put in there. Diddy was apparently with him, but not taken into custody. That would scare the shit out of me more than anything else. Because here's what the feds do. The feds are patient. They are patient motherfuckers. The feds, in this case, will take... supposedly, the timing of arresting Mr. Paul wasn't related to the raid of the 2 homes. Who believes that? Do you believe that? I don't believe that, but that was a public statement. And Paul was arrested in Miami on felony charges for possession of suspected cocaine and possession of suspected marijuana candy per an arrest, and he bailed out on $2,500. So it wasn't, that much. But it's a felony. And whether they're going to use that to squeeze him or not is yet to be seen. I would suspect they would try to. Now, Paul's lawyer is probably one of the smartest guys I've seen because he's not saying innocence, he's not saying this or that. You know why he's not saying anything? Because he doesn't know anything. It's a brand new case. All you have is a charging document. You haven't seen any of the police reports. So what his statement to the press was, we're not going to try this in the press. We're going to try this in a court of law. And that is how you want to talk to the press when you have a pending allegation against your client and it is, and you don't know really the landscape quite yet. And you want to keep your client out of the press as much as possible. And we haven't heard much from Mr. Paul. Okay, so that's kind of what he's looking at. My guess is that Diddy is also looking at some potential drug charges and maybe some federal conspiracy charges. So also mentioned in Mr. Jones' lawsuit was somebody by the name of Young Miami. Apparently the allegation is that she provided whatever sex work and drug transportation, whatever. And I'm not going to really go into her because those allegations are not really founded yet. And there's all kinds of tit for tat. She's BM for one of 50 Cent's kids, and there's just all kinds of wrangling going on. It just sounds like bad blood. So I'm not going to really get into the rumor mongering. So if you look at the sex trafficking statutes federally, the guidelines are through the roof on those. And in this case, remember, sex trafficking always involves either force, fraud, or coercion. Without that, they don't have. But you can see through these lawsuits that there certainly is a pattern. And if there's a pattern, there are probably people that we don't know about that, haven't filed a lawsuit. They don't have an axe to grind except for the fact that they may have been victimized. That's just conjecture on my part. The feds don't, in order to go search somebody's house, you have to apply for a search warrant. And in order to apply for a search warrant, you have to file an affidavit with a district court judge or a magistrate, and the magistrate has to look at the affidavit. The affidavit has to establish probable cause and has to do two things. One, there's got to be a nexus. In other words, there's got to be evidence of a criminal activity that's going to be found, for the alleged crime that is being investigated. And it has to be timely. It can't just be 5 years ago, I saw a gun at his house. Well, a long time has passed. It's stale. You can't have, staleness in a warrant. So a magistrate has to sign off on it. Now, those are probably sealed. In fact, I guarantee you those affidavits are sealed. So, but certainly these agents that have created the affidavits have talked to witnesses, and they believe that there's still evidence of criminal activity that will be found at both locations. So let's go back into a little bit of video history. So let's look at Usher, because Usher had a very early on relationship with Diddy, because Usher lived with Diddy for a year when he was 13 years old. Who the fuck would let their kid do that? And I understand stardom and, it's like, would you let your kid go live with Michael Jackson for a year? Or anybody. I wouldn't want my son away from me. I don't care if he's going to play in the NBA. I don't care if he's going to be a rock star. That parental bond isn't going to let my kid go do that. And mind you, some of this might be hindsight, but let's hear what Diddy has to say, or what Usher has to say, because he was on Howard Stern.
No, not really. But hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to...
I don't even know if I could understand what I was looking at. 13, of course you're not.
What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
When you have, an icon, like Diddy. Diddy is in the business is an icon, right? He is wealthy beyond belief. He is got connections. He can make you or break you. And you're a little kid or a young woman or whatever, whoever you are in his orbit, he's got the power, right? And people do all kinds of shit. Like remember Elvis? Elvis. Nobody would tell Elvis no. That's why he fucking died. Well, Diddy is, the powerful you want to be. And Michael Jackson, same way. Powerful, you want to be in his orbit. Anybody that disagreed, you're out. Well, you've got Diddy, Mr. Powerful. And guess what you can do with that power? You can use and abuse people at your will. And I think that has a corrosive effect on your integrity, on who you are as a person. We've seen it with Andrew Tate. He would prey on the weak, and now keep in mind, Andrew Tate is no fucking Diddy in terms of financial or even talent, but they prey on these people, and they use their position of authority and trust in an effort to, fulfill their sickest fucking desires. For example, like Vince McMahon, we did a whole thing on that lawsuit, and tell me he's not going to get fucking charged with sex trafficking. How that doesn't happen is beyond me. But that's an extreme example, but it's the truth. And we in power, and I have a certain amount of power in. It's not on any kind of grand scale, but I'm an employer. I'm a father. I've got money and I've had a successful practice, and I could, abuse my employees if I wanted to. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. You could ask them to do the dumbest shit, and you don't do it. You don't abuse them. You know why? Because you want to live to see another day. This crap that he's accused of is so short-sighted, and really it's pathological. When you're isolated, and you're in your bubble, and you've got people around you who do your bidding, there's no limits. And when there are no limits, guess what? That has a corrosive effect on your soul. And that's what we have here. I think. Now keep in mind, he's He's professed his innocence. His lawyers have made a bunch of statements, and we'll talk about what his lawyers have said. But let's just go to a couple other videos that we have.
And you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing.
I'm always suspect of an older man hanging out with a younger boy that's not his own kin. I have a... Now, keep in mind, that Bieber was a sensation, and he was just coming up. I think this was 2009.
We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
You're spending, whether it's Usher or at 13 or Justin Bieber at 15, kind of what the lawsuits are alleging and the kind of parties that they have.
I'm good. How are you doing?
Young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything?
Yeah.
Starting to act different, huh?
No,
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Right,
My
okay.
number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
I mean, look at him there. He looks like, well, there's a reason why I don't want to get naked in front of you. He didn't say that, but that's kind of the vibe you're getting. Some of this we're getting from Law and Crime, so I don't want to just, I want to give them props for putting some of this together. Uncle Luke gave a podcast in Miami last week, and this is what he had to say.
Did you party with Diddy a lot?
Oh, no, not really. I would go to the party and leave early.
Why wouldn't you stay late?
I go to the party and leave early. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what goes on after hours, but
He wasn't trying to find out.
I wasn't trying to find out.
It wasn't really a secret, that about the Diddy parties.
Oh, hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
That was Combs and NBA legend LeBron James.
So that's LeBron James knowing there ain't no party like a Diddy party.
Who gonna turn down $50 million? Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right, because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did.
So this is Cat Williams saying he turned down $50 million for 4 times. And saying he got to tell Diddy no. $50 million for what? What did you turn $50 million for? What did they want you to do for $50 million? That statement from Cat Williams was just recently on Shannon Sharp's podcast. But this is Cat Williams from 2004.
They be having these big ass mansion parties, and the mansion party, the whole mansion is a party, and then it's a separate party in the little rooms. I ain't been famous that goddamn long. I'm excited than a motherfucker to be at the mansion party. You be looking in all the goddamn rooms, and you fuck around and look in the wrong room.
You've got all kinds of celebrities who are talking about, the lore of the Diddy parties, the depravity of the Diddy parties. And then you have his drug mule, or somebody who's alleged to be his drug mule, taken into custody. You got his homes searched, and who knows what kind of stuff they garnered out of his homes. Now, if they have all this, and nothing comes of it, it's a shame, honestly. And the reason I'm telling you it's a shame is because if none of this is true, it's all just an absolute character assassination against an innocent person. But if it is true, and my guess is that it's going to be tested in court, because this isn't going to be a case that's going to get played out, because the guidelines would just be way too high. If we have a situation like that, you're going to see more and more and more people come out of the woodwork. People you don't know, people that aren't famous, people that don't have an axe to grind, people that don't have a civil lawsuit pending. And in Jones' lawsuit, it's got what kind of struck me about it is all the backup that he had for his claims, all the video, audio, and they took screenshots from those. I know somebody who really always struck me as authentic, as opposed to a poser, is 50 Cent.
The nigga Puff was like, yeah, like first he was amping him to get style. Then he was like, yo, so when we gonna get the chance to, to kick it, like we could just hang out, nigga. We gotta kick it.
This is
Puff.
Okay.
He telling me we gotta kick it and shit. And he was like, yo, why don't we like go shopping or some shit? I mean, like I pay for it. And I was like, what the fuck this nigga just say?
What the fuck did this fella just say? Let's go shopping. In all my years, I've never asked a buddy of mine to go shopping.
I got the fuck away from him because I was like, this nigga, fucking, this nigga just tell me he'd take me shopping. And this is shit that goes on. But this is a little fruit. Puff is a fruit pop.
Puff is a fruit pop. When was that? That was a while ago. This is not a recent thing from Diddy, I don't think. But think about this. Think about, aside from the fruit pop comment, aside from whatever you think about, going shopping, that's a method of control and grooming.
Like that doesn't happen by accident. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Look, later you're going to find out a little shit that I'll be saying be real.
Hear what he just said? He says, later you're going to find out all this shit I said is true. And that is what it is. Let's go back even further. He was on a kids program. Watch this.
I always ask myself, what would P. Diddy do? P. Diddy?
What's up?
We can't wake up Shane.
You try symbols?
Yep.
What about sour milk?
Didn't work.
Tell you what. Take this toy helicopter. Put it down his pants.
All right, we'll do.
Put it down his fucking pants. That's years ago. And some of this might be hindsight, Oh, look at this. I remember this. And now trying to fit. And that's what prosecutors do. They'll take any little thing and they'll try to make something out of it. 50 or 50 Cent. Now it's not Diddy do it. Now it's not Diddy do it. It's Diddy done. They don't come like that unless they got a case. They're not going to come after Diddy if they don't have a case. That's actually a very accurate statement. And you look at these they've got their employees, his children, whoever, and they're going with paramilitary vehicles. But let's kind of go through some of the statements that the lawyers have said. Mr. Combs was never detained but spoke to and cooperated with authorities. Despite media speculation, neither Mr. Combs nor any of his family members have been arrested, nor has their ability to travel been restricted in any way. I guarantee if he tries to leave the country, he's going to get fucked. This unprecedented ambush, paired with an advanced, coordinated, and media presence, leads to a premature rush to judgment of Mr. Combs and is nothing more than a witch hunt. We've heard that before. Based on meritless accusations made in civil lawsuits. So he's talking about the raid and the search warrants that were executed, and his lawyers by the name of Aaron Dyer. There was a gross overuse of military-level force as search warrants were executed at Mr. Combs' residence. One of the allegations is that, guns were, prevalent, and there's been some shootings that have happened. But here's the next shoe to drop. They supposedly have been gathering evidence through 2 searches. They have been talking to witnesses, and so they've been taking statements. So they will be sifting through everything and making a charging decision, I guess, probably in the next several weeks, I would think. One of the things that happens at this juncture is somebody like Diddy is going to reach out to all kinds of other people. Don't talk, don't talk, don't talk. And I'm sure his lawyer's very well versed in this, saying, don't fucking talk to a soul. Don't talk to so-and-so. But guess what people do all the time? They go through third-party channels. They try to threaten, they try to intimidate, and they make things 10 times worse for themselves. And why is that important? Because once he gets charged, there's a detention hearing. And there's two things. Remember what we said about detention hearings? Risk of flight, he's got a private jet, and danger to the public, intimidating other witnesses. And the allegations themselves call for or have a violent quality to them. You know, there's sexual assaults, there's trafficking, there's, probably kidnapping. There's all kinds of different kinds of allegations that are being made that affect the public's safety. If he does get charged, there will be probably a presumption that he's detained. You can be denied bail in federal court. In fact, oftentimes our clients are denied bail. You've got a guy who's got a lot of money, and he's been selling all kinds of stock, and he's been divesting of a bunch of assets. And one can only assume that he's doing that to maybe flee. He's no longer involved with Ciroc vodka. He's no longer involved with Revolt Media. He's divested, he sold a bunch of stock in a bunch of different companies. One could think that he might be preparing to flee. I guarantee you that's what the prosecutors are going to say. That's what the judge is going to think. And there may be a presumption that he's detained. And if there is, he has to, it's a rebuttable presumption. That means he needs to put something in place. Remember like NBA Youngboy when he was detained? They put in a plan in place. He can live in Utah. He'll be on a home confinement. And we have bodyguards that are going to watch him to make sure he doesn't leave. He'll probably have to do something like that and put up a significant amount of bail. So this is our little kind of reaction to Diddy and all the stuff that he's got coming his way. He's got several civil lawsuits. And, my guess is they're talking to prosecutors. I wouldn't be surprised if in each one of these lawsuits that are still pending, that he files some kind of motion to continue until the outcome of the criminal case is pending or is completed. Because guess what you can do in a civil case? You can take a deposition. You don't want your client saying shit until the criminal case is over with. And if you're going to take the Fifth Amendment in a civil case, they can use that against you as an adverse inference. You're not saying anything because because what you're going to say is going to hurt you. And so you can use that as an assumption that what he would testify about is negative to himself. We haven't gotten New York involved yet, except for in the civil realm. So we'll see what happens here, and we'll keep following this. But it's not going to get any better for Diddy, in my opinion. Look what he's doing. It's this money, power, depravity. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, sign up for Patreon, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?